Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, having a great Monday? Have a great weekend? I don't know what I'm talking about. I was going to say, did you have a great weekend? And it started coming out wrong. So take two. Here we go. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show. Did you have a great weekend? I love when I could fix things like that. Good thing it's not live TV or radio, huh? I had a great weekend. It went very quickly, of course, as all great weekends do, as all weekends do. But I got a lot accomplished, actually. I actually rode my bike for about 50 minutes yesterday while my son was at the Yankee game. And what a Yankee game he saw. History. He saw A-Rod's first home run of the year. He saw Gardner's first walk-off home run ever. He saw Mariano Rivera blow his third save in a row for the first time ever and give up back-to-back home runs in the ninth. He saw a lot of history in one game. Pretty wild, and they wound up to win the game anyway. So anyway, all right, that's fantasy. That's nice. That's the weekend. So then you wake up on Monday morning, and what do you get? You get the old, ooh, bleh. That's the 1-2 punch. For those of you not watching at Newsmax TV, let me do that again. Ooh, ooh. You get you get the 1-2 punch. And one was the breaking news that a New York judge, a federal judge in New York, has now appointed an outside set of eyes to oversee changes to New York City's police department's stop and frisk program, which he says, or she says, violates the Constitution. Punch number two was Eric Holder, that fine Attorney General of the United States of America in the abomination in which we live, gave a little speech today, and he has decided that low-level, nonviolent drug offenders with no ties to gangs or large-scale drug organizations will no longer be charged with offensive that will make them eligible for mandatory sentences. In fact, when they're arrested, it'll be new policy that they won't put down just how much of a quantity of drugs were found on them so that they wouldn't become, so they wouldn't fall under mandatory sentences. And why? Because there's just too many people in our prisons, and it just costs too much money. So which punch should I address first? The right cross, or the left hook? Let's go with the right cross first, and that is what took place in New York with stop and frisk. Let me tell you about stop and frisk. But the judge said, and this was a federal class action trial after allegations that police supervisors and their unions pressured officers to stop and question and frisk hundreds of thousands of people by establishing quotas and racial profiling. Ladies and gentlemen, the judge said that this violated the 4th and 14th Amendments. Now, the city argued the stops were done legally in high-crime areas and that the policy is a life-saving, crime-fighting tool. Let me break it down to the nuts and bolts, because really, in both of these punches that we received today as a nation, race is at the core of it all. Race is at the core of it all. Fact of the matter is, as was pointed out to me today by a man standing in that control room who will go unnamed, violent crimes have been dropping in this country. Violent crimes have been dropping in this country because the bad guys are locked up. They're locked up here in New York City, so the murder rate and the crime rate and the violent crime rate has been going down, 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 down. Under David Dinkins, the mayor of New York in 1990, there were over 2,000 New Yorkers murdered a year. And the overwhelming majority of them, minorities, blacks, Hispanics. Now we're down to 500, under 500, which is way too much, but my goodness, what a drop. So how many minority lives have been saved? How many minority families, kids, have not lost mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, husbands, wives because of the policies that have been instituted over the years? And now I'm talking specifically about New York with stop and frisk and other policies. You know, Rudy Giuliani, when he became mayor of New York, had a theory. When someone jumps over the turnstile to get onto the subway free, when someone washes someone's windows, they were called squeegee men. They used to spit on a newspaper and wipe your window and demand money and pound on your windshield if they didn't get it. David Dinkins let them be, in my opinion. Let them be. Giuliani locked them up and did a search on them. And such a huge percentage of these low-level criminals were wanted for outstanding warrants for more serious crime. Or they would be arrested under Dinkins, let go, and then commit serious crime. So Giuliani got the ball rolling. Stop and frisk disproportionately stops blacks and minorities in New York City, searching them for guns and contraband. And you know why? Because disproportionately in New York City, blacks and minorities commit a huge, disproportionate amount of the violent crimes and murders and carry the guns in New York City. So why would the cops be in the white neighborhoods stopping and frisking the people who statistically aren't committing crimes, aren't carrying illegal weapons, aren't carrying contraband? Why would they do that? Because, well, they wouldn't do it. And they're not doing it because they're, yes, profiling. That's right. That's what police do. And this judge has now made it a dirty word again, this time legally. Now, she did not outlaw stop and frisk. You just can't now stop and frisk the people who are likely to be the bad guys. And she's put someone in charge to oversee this. You want to weigh in on this? I know a lot of you want to weigh. I know a lot of you down in Florida, transplanted New Yorkers from New York City. Some of you in Atlanta. Give me a call no matter where you are. And some of you are in New York City, watching and listening on XM or Newsmax.com. 855-777-9660. 855-777-9660. Who are the cops going to stop? They go to the bad neighborhoods where the crimes are committed. Who's committing the crimes? Overwhelmingly, minorities. So who do the cops stop? Minorities. Crime rate goes down. Minority lives are saved. So the judge says, oh, you're stopping too many minorities. What's going to happen? Crime will go up. People will get killed. Most of them will be minorities. And the judge will say, I did my job. Yet they're viewed by the left. Right now, this judge is being viewed by the left and hailed by the left as a hero. As a hero. But the judge is no hero. In the long run, it's going to lead to more crime and more rapes and more robberies and more deaths. And the overwhelming victims of those crimes will be minorities. It is a crying shame. And minorities and protecting minorities and letting minorities out of prison and make sure more minorities don't go to prison is what's behind, in my view, Eric Holder with this nonsense. With this nonsense. They talk about the percent, the jails and what percent of the population we have and what percent of the world's jails we have and prisoners we have, and the cost of incarceration was $80 billion in 2010, blah, 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 blah. Folks, if you're not supposed to do drugs and you're not supposed to be in possession of drugs and you're not supposed to be dealing drugs, using drugs, and you know it's against the law, and you get caught, you know where you belong? You belong in jail. Otherwise, you're going to graduate to higher crimes and more violent crimes. And you're going to need that next fix. So you're going to go mug someone for the money or maybe kill someone for the money. You don't want to leave witnesses, right? This is in my view, a blatant attempt to keep people out of jail. To keep people out of jail. Criminals. So you take the two in combination, and I don't think they're related. I don't think Holder did what he did because the judge did what she did. But you take the two in combination and you got 1-2 punch. Stop and frisk. Federal oversight. NYPD won't be able to keep the city safe, won't be able to keep minorities as safe. And Eric Holder, they're not going to enforce the parts of the laws that Eric Holder doesn't want them to enforce. So less people will go to jail, more criminals will be on the streets, equals less safe. So 2 blows to safety on our streets in New York City and in the United States of America as a whole today. What day is it? August 12th, 2013. A landmark day in the abomination. We're coming back. Heather O'Rourke will join us. That's good. Heather McDonald. Heather O'Rourke is a very famous traffic person here in New York City who did traffic on a show that I did for many years. Heather McDonald of City Journal will join us. She's written extensively on this issue on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-625-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV. Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more. 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com. In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night, but eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting, and the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Talking about what we were discussing before the break, the stop and frisk decision, and someone who is, well, there's no bigger expert on it than Heather McDonald of City Journal, where she is a contributing editor. Heather, welcome, and I take you back to your piece in the Wall Street Journal back, I think, June 11th, where you talked about how if this decision went the wrong way, not only New Yorkers should be concerned, but people all across the country. And now we have today's decision by the judge. What do you make of it, and what are going to be the ramifications in your view?
Well, it's a sad day, I think, for law-abiding individuals across the country, because the judge has really bought nearly every aspect of the advocates' arguments against the police in a way that just completely is blind to the reality of what crime means in a neighborhood. And it's going to cause police departments across the country, if they want to avoid this type of negative publicity and what's going to be an extremely costly, unnecessary set of new bureaucracy and oversight, to pull back on proactive policing. The judge basically says if you have crime suspect data in an area and your stops match the race of the people suspected of doing those crimes, that constitutes racial profiling. So she's writing from a perspective of someone who does not know what it means to live in a high crime neighborhood.
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
And the utter necessity that the police are the only ones who are able to bring safety and freedom from fear to those residents.
And of course, and the judge talking about how it's disproportionate stopping of minorities, and how it's a violation of the Constitution. And you point out over and over again that when you look at who's committing the crimes and who's being killed, it's minorities disproportionately committing these crimes. It's minorities disproportionately being killed and now being saved, since the statistics have gone so far down since 1990. Minority lives being saved. I mean, what's going to happen here is, if it comes to fruition this way, before it's appealed at least, you're going to have fewer people stopped, fewer minorities stopped, and probably more minorities dead.
Right, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely a trade-off here, because without question, there are innocent people who are stopped lawfully because they appear to the officer to be engaged in suspicious behavior in a high crime area. Without question, some portion of the people who are stopped, who are not arrested, are completely innocent. So you have to balance the disruption to those people, which is real and can be humiliating, against the broader reality of high crime and all that means to a neighborhood. And, I don't think the judge has sufficiently weighed what that means and what it means to live under the thrall of crime. So, for example, Steve, I mean, she says if you have reports that a neighborhood is being victimized by young black males between the ages of 14 and 20, she does not think that when the officers are on the lookout for people who appear to be casing a victim at the locations where robberies have occurred, race cannot be part of that what the officer is looking for. That is absurd.
Lunacy. At total, utter lunacy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you think that this is going to encourage pending appeals and all, encourage activists, quote unquote, in other cities to crack down on police departments?
Absolutely, Steve. This is an extraordinarily important invitation to the advocates across the country. The ACLU in every local city is poring over this decision. It validates every specious argument that has been made against the police, and every department that is policing effectively and going after crime and going where victims are asking for protection generates the identical statistics that the NYPD does. The NYPD documents their statistics to an extraordinary degree, their crime activity rather, to an extraordinary degree, and many departments are not recording their activity to the same extent. But if they do, and if the ACLU can get its hands on similar stop and arrest data, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of lawsuits waiting in the wings.
Yep. All right, Heather. We'll keep you. We'll keep the people up to date. We'll talk to you again as this progresses through appeals. Hopefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Take care. That's Heather McDonald, contributing editor of City Journal. All right, we got a few people want to weigh in. We're going to do that when we come back from the break. Anybody else want to weigh in on this? I mean, this is going to hurt minorities, not help minorities. When there's a situation where an area is crime-ridden and it happens to be a minority community, now you can't stop the people based on race in that community? It's insane. 855-777-9660. 855-777-9660. And also in the next half hour, should the Washington Redskins, change their name on the Steve Malzberg Show?
The Steve Malzberg Show. You've heard the allegations on the news, and during the big game, pro football players have been using deer antler velvet to get a competitive edge. Banned at the London Games for its performance-enhancing qualities. Forbidden in major sports leagues for being an unfair advantage to athletes. Deer antler velvet is now in stock and available to try for free for a limited time only. Athletes have been using it for years for increased strength, increased endurance, muscle mass stress reduction, and yes, greatly enhanced libido. Everyone's talking about this miracle substance so powerful, it's being banned by professional sports organizations, but for a limited time, it's being made available to the general public. Best of all, you can try it for free by calling 800-678-5153. That's right, get Superior Velvet for free. If you're looking to boost your performance on the field and between the sheets, get the most powerful, proven product used by athletes for years now for free. Claim your free bottle today by calling 800-678-5153. That's 800-678-5153. Again, 800-678-5153.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time radio offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
Are payday loans ruining your life? If you have 2 or more payday loan cash advances, listen closely. You may be eligible for a program that payday loan companies don't want you to know about.
This program will get payday loan companies out of your bank account and put an end to the payday loan nightmare. Call for free information and find out if Payday Loan Support Center is right for you. Payday loan companies usually trap you into paying rates as high as 700%. We understand payday lenders' tactics. Don't let them take advantage of you anymore. All you need is 2 or more payday loans to qualify. We can help even if you're behind in collections or have bad credit.
Internet payday loans qualify for this program as well. So call 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. The call is free and the consultation is free. Don't miss out. Call for your free information on payday loan relief. 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. Again, 800-250-5084.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost testosterone levels within normal, healthy ranges. But now, the best testosterone product is even better. New and improved Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life and in your romantic life. Because our upgraded formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. That's right, guys. Ageless Male has been clinically shown to boost performance. Cancel your plans this weekend. You're staying in. If you're ready to recapture the drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male because it's available risk-free. But you must call now. Just call 1-800-460-9790. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show. No. This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. 855-777-9660. Peter Keating, senior writer at ESPN, the magazine, has graciously consented to hold off for a few minutes. We'll get to him talking about the Redskins. Should they change their name? Slate magazine won't use the word Redskins anymore. Blah, 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 blah. We'll talk about that, but we do have some callers on the line, and feel free to weigh in if you so desire. 855-777-9660. Let us go to Mike in Tennessee. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Steve. And a second time I called you, man, and I don't like you anymore this time. The tactics you're using that you and your guest just used to try to promote this idea of violating our Fourth Amendment rights, and especially for how disgusting is it that you're going to say it's for the safety of the black people that they get stopped without any reasonable suspicion and have their ID demanded from them by police officers. These tactics are what politicians use. They always say in the name of safety. We have to have checkpoints in the name of safety, keeping us safe from Al-Qaeda, the Phantom Menace. This is a fraud. You are a liberal disguised as a conservative.
Well,
you told me last time that you're not a liberal, that you're a conservative, and you love the Constitution.
Well, sir, Mike, if I recall last time, you have a problem with police. You're anti-police, and you last time said that I was a liberal because I supported the police. Because I said that if you're pulled over by a cop, you do what he says, and you said no, I don't. Well, if that, like I said before, that's sick. If you're advocating other people to disobey the police, it might even be a crime. But, I hope you don't have kids that you're telling not to follow what the police say, because God forbid one of them will wind up in a misunderstanding and it won't turn out good for one of your kids. So, you have this anti-police theme. I
said that the police are not our masters. We don't have to lick their boots. And civil disobedience is not a crime.
Oh, I don't know. Well, when you're pulled over and a cop tells you to do something, that's not civil disobedience. You do it. Otherwise, the cop doesn't know at that point if you have a gun. You don't know if you're a suspect. You don't know if he's pulling you over because you fit a description. So that's not civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is sitting on a bridge or something.
Yeah, fit the description. Yeah, that's a good one there. Fit the description. You know what? I'm glad I'm not black in New York. I feel for the black people in New York that they would have to put up with such a thing.
Well, Mike,
Mike,
yeah, I know. 2,000 dead people in 1990, and now we're down to 500, and overwhelmingly, I bet the 85-90% of those dead people are minorities, and so you figure out how many mothers and fathers and children have been saved, but that's a scam to you. What can I tell you?
Yeah, it is. Let me tell you what. the government puts the drugs in the inner city to promote that kind of crime.
Mike, I can't. I could only take. I could only take so much conspiracy. I really can.
It's not conspiracy.
All right. And by the way, if the government, if Obama and Holder are putting the drugs in the minority community, then why are they now saying they won't lock up people who take the drugs? Thank you for the call, Mike. I appreciate it. Let's go to Dave in the great state of Colorado. Hello, Dave. You're on the Steve Malzberg Show. Thanks for calling, sir. Hello, Dave. Let's see.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, I got you now. How are you, man?
All right, we got the right wires.
Now you're listening. You're listening on XM.
I'm listening on XM.
All right, you know that station's going away at the end of the month. I'd hate for you to lose this show, so you could watch it at newsmax.com, or you could listen. We're on a couple of radio stations. We're on in Miami. We're on in Atlanta. So I hope you'll find out how to go to newsmax.com, and you'll be able to be directed on how you could listen to the show and watch it.
Yeah, I got you. I'm aware you were getting dropped. I've been following the whole thing.
Yeah, but the show is still here. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really curious how you can be so pro-Constitution on the NSA snooping, but yet not see that this stop and frisk is a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. Irregardless of race, you're taking a group of people, you're searching them without probable cause. How do you reconcile those differences, Steve? Just because it's effective? Is that the justification?
Well, I'm not against the NSA. I said that my problem with the NSA is that we're willing to do that to citizens. We're willing to track my phone calls and your phone calls. But if we get a known terrorist who might know when there's a bomb going to go off, we're not willing to stick his head underwater for 10 seconds to find out, because that's not who we are. Now, I have a problem with that inconsistency. That's what I've said all along. But as far as this...
We have a Constitution, Steve, and the Constitution clearly states that you can't be searched without probable cause.
Well, now you're going on to stop and frisk. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what you invited to call for. So
yeah. No, I know,
I
but
want to go back to the NSA. But
but you said how could I be against the NSA? And I told you what my deal with the NSA. As far as stop and frisk goes, these are police. These are police tactics that in high crime neighborhoods have to be used to bring down crime. Have successfully been used to bring down crimes. Hey, you know what else? The same ACLU and probably you would have to argue against what another program that Commissioner Kelly has put in place, and that's the surveillance of some Muslim groups. I guess
now, wait a minute, Steve. That was a direct attack on me, coupling me up with the ACLU.
Well, but wait a minute. You're on the same side. I didn't mean to impugn your integrity by any means. But no, seriously.
That hurt.
But you're on the same side of this issue, which is fine. Nothing is 100%. But so how do you feel about Commissioner Kelly targeting or surveilling Muslim groups both in and around New York State?
Well, I believe Commissioner Kelly has done a great job since he's been.
Well, wait a minute. Stop and frisk is his baby.
I understand that. People. The point is that the government as a whole, as an entity, is continuing to infringe on the rights and taking away rights of the citizens of this country, and it's being done so. In an effort to, quote, keep us safe, end quote. As per your last caller, he was dead on. This is an absolute misrepresentation, and the justification to take away citizens' rights because it's more convenient is not a legal justification. The judge who made this decision in New York was dead on. I think she got it. I think she nailed it. And with all due respect to Miss Heather McDonald, I think, and you, sir, I think you guys are on the wrong side of this issue.
All right, and
you
Dave?
just can't arbitrarily take rights away from U.S. citizens because it's an expedient and efficient means to sort out the criminals. You need to come up with another way to get it done, and it needs to be a legal, constitutional way. I'll add one more thing.
Yeah.
In the real world, the police will create probable cause. So it's not that. And you had a caller on 2 days ago who was a police officer who admitted that they could manufacture a probable cause.
Well, the fact
that is exactly what happens in the real world.
Well, of course,
If the
police could.
want-
Of course, police can manufacture probable cause. Police could do all kinds of illegal things. Luckily, 99.9% of them don't, and that's why they're.
Well,
that's
how is arbitrarily searching an entire group or race of people not illegal? In
the
your
police.
view?
The police didn't come up with this. These aren't individual cops coming up with this. This was policy instituted by the mayor, by the police commissioner, and by the city. This wasn't
And that
rogue
makes it
cops.
even more abusive.
Well,
because
all
it's
right.
not
Now we're
an
going around in
individual
circles.
thing.
Dave, I respect your opinion, and I thank you for calling.
And I respect yours, and I enjoy your show.
Thank
Steve.
you, and I hope you'll stick with the show even when it's gone from XM. Thank you. All right, we're going to come back, folks, and I love that. I mean, they disagree with me, but I love that. At least Dave is more rational than Mike, in my view. I mean, I think if Dave is pulled over, he's not going to, he's not going to be prone to causing a confrontation with a police officer. Anyway, which I'm afraid to say might be. When we come back, Redskins, go Skins, go. Go Skins, go. Now, I'm not a Redskins fan. I just want to get under the skin, if you will, of those who say the name Redskins has to go. We'll talk about it when we come back on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you're a baby boomer or senior, please listen closely to this important message. Politicians in Washington are quietly plotting to decrease your Social Security payments drastically, and they want to do it soon. In fact, despite rising prices at the gas pump, grocery store, and doctor's office, retirees have received a mere 1.3% annual increase to their Social Security checks. Meanwhile, food stamp recipients have seen their payouts increase over 30% under the Obama administration. That's shocking. So when we stumbled upon a weird trick that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security checks, we knew we had to share it with you. To get started, simply go to SocialSecurityFree.com. Yes, it's true. You can take simple steps that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security payouts. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over 50. Go to SocialSecurityFree.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts. And some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Do you owe the IRS? Do you have unfiled tax returns? Have you received a wage garnishment or bank levy? Maybe a lien has been filed against you. OMG Tax can help you with all your IRS tax problems. Don't wait another second. Take action now. Call my team at OMG Tax. Honest and professional, we don't make false promises. If you owe back taxes, or if the IRS is garnishing your paycheck, you need help now. OMG Tax can help you get your life back to normal. If you're serious about handling your tax matter, call OMG Tax now and get the peace of mind you deserve. Don't let the IRS take your next paycheck. Stop waiting and call our team at OMG Tax. OMG Tax has a straightforward, no-nonsense approach and has helped many Americans resolve their IRS nightmare. Call OMG Tax now.
Call 1-800-255-6485. That's 1-800-255-6485. 800-255-6485.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight, and nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind: to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. To change the name or not to change the name, that is the question. Once again, this comes up every so often. There's a move afoot, if you will, although be it not too big a move or not too big a foot, to change the name of the Washington Redskins to something else, to anything else practically, except Redskins, because some say it's racist, it's bigoted, it's anti-Native American. Joining us now is Peter Keating, senior writer at ESPN, the magazine. Hey, Peter, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Steve. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I really appreciate you coming on. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. Slate.com said the other day through editor David Plotz that that's it. They're not going to use the name Redskins anymore. I mean, I guess they're just going to say Washington and just take out Redskins, or maybe they'll name it something else on their own. I have no idea, or call them RS, but that would still signal Redskins. So why is this coming up again, and is this move any more serious than in the past?
Well, I think it's coming up because the court case, there have been court cases about this involving the trademarking of the name Redskins. Going on for something like 13 years. And you're not supposed to be able to trademark a name that is patently, no pun intended, offensive. And the government back in 1999 ruled in favor of the protesters, but that got thrown out in court. But a new case emerged based on plaintiffs who say they have some standing about being offended by the name. And so because this drags on, and there are people who, have a forum about this. It crops up every now and then, and then the other thing is that, like the Cowboys or the Yankees, the Redskins, because of where they play and their owner and their tradition, they're one of those teams that's always in the news. There are a number of teams named Braves or Warriors. I mean, there is not this ruckus over the Golden State Warriors, right? But the Redskins are always courting controversy of one kind or another.
Yeah, I'm drawn to them. I'm glad you said Braves because I'm always reminded of they're just not called the Braves. They still do the tomahawk chop, as far as I know. And I just in my mind's eye, I can't get rid of the image of Jane Fonda and Ted Turner, two bigger liberal hypocrites there aren't, standing up and standing up, owning the team and doing while they do the tomahawk chop. But that aside, Snyder, the owner, says he's not. I mean, I'm right? I mean, come on.
Well, I'm not going to comment on the. I can't. I'm not here to talk about the politics of the owners and stuff like that. But I will tell you that I personally find that tomahawk chop ridiculous and annoying because I'm a Mets fan. So the last thing that I like to see is those tomahawk chops going on. Look, there's a whole gamut of logos and mascots. I mean, if you look at the Cleveland Indians mascot, their logo is this big grinning Native American face and kind of a chomping smile and a more stereotypical image you will not see. Some of these stir up negative reaction more than others.
Well, look, the St. John's Redmen were the first to really capitulate that I could recall when they changed their name to the Red Storm. But let me ask you.
Wait, I have to stop you. Do you remember? I don't know if you're a fan. Do you remember what happened before the Redmen became the Red Storm? There was an intermediate stage. It was about 20 years ago. I'm totally serious. Where the St. John's tried to change the mascot to the Red Man or the Red Men, and they actually had a guy in a red tuxedo and top hat dancing around in the stands, and he was hated by the fans. The fans used to throw things at him. So eventually, they got rid of the dancing Red Man and turned it into the Red Storm.
Yeah, that didn't last all that long. I'm sure that like you said, it didn't go over too well. By the way, we're talking to Peter Keating, senior writer at ESPN, the magazine. All right, so do you believe? You do write in your piece that I'm looking at here, dated last Wednesday, that the term Redskin, I'm going to ask you, as it applies to naming a team Redskin, is racist.
Well, of course it is. I mean, look it up in your dictionary. I mean, my dictionary says Redskin means offensive slang used as a disparaging term for Native American. My own opinion is it's a lot like my grandfather was a proud Polish American, 100% Polish and proud of it. My grandmother told all kinds of horrible Polish jokes. We laughed at them because they were funny. However, I would not be happy to hear people going around calling Polish Americans Polacks. And I think context matters. And I really think that the fans who want to keep the name, they doff protest a bit too much. I mean, what you're really saying is if you want to keep the name, and I understand it's a popular position to want to keep the name, what you're really saying is you like the team's name, your connection to the team history is more important than the history of the word, which is pretty awful.
Well, Snyder's not going to change it, so he says, and I think you point out in your piece that 80% or 70-some-odd% of the people the fans don't want it changed either. You do address the claim that they'd suffer monetarily if they change, and you point to other changes that have been made in the past and how that's not the case. Of course, that doesn't necessarily prove that it'll hold true here. But that aside, what I'm really shocked about, to be honest with you, is that Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, and I hope they don't change it, but I'm shocked that Goodell is basically supporting the Redskins.
Well, you really hit upon something there. Now, Commissioner Goodell grew up in the Washington area. You know, his dad was a senator.
Right.
But I don't think that's what this is about. Every now and then, there's a fact that kind of pops up, and we have to recognize it for what it is, which is that while all sports fans would love to see commissioners acting in the best interest of the sports or bringing down, judgments independent of what the teams want. Fans have this image of Kennesaw Mountain Landis with his fiery white hair, slamming a gavel down. The truth is the commissioner works for the owners. And there is no commissioner in any sport who's going to tell an owner that the team that he paid hundreds of millions of dollars for isn't his personal property and that he has to change the name of the team. At the end of the day, Commissioner Goodell works for the NFL owners.
True, but if he thought it was egregious enough in today's politically correct world, where I can't think of anything in football, but certainly in baseball, the commissioner has taken on owners for various violations all the way back. I mean, all the way back, but in recent history, speaking of the aforementioned Ted Turner, fining him for being in the dugout, suspending George Steinbrenner, different things along those lines. So I'm just saying.
But now, Steve, Turner was on the field.
Yeah.
Right. Steinbrenner actually involved a criminal violation.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Yeah, you're right. It's different. It's different.
But this is important because when it comes to owners, what you can consider owners' private business. I mean, Donald Sterling, the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, he had the largest settlement. He was on the wrong side of it. The largest settlement ever reached in a federal housing discrimination case. Okay, and the NBA, which proudly proclaims itself as being progressive on race relations, and David Stern, got his start as a lawyer handling fair housing cases. They've never said a peep about it.
Right.
Because to the commissioner, what the owners do with their private property and their private lives, basically, is private. There's codes of conduct for fans and a lot of rules of conduct for players. I have never walked into a stadium and seen the owner's code of conduct posted anywhere.
That's a very, very good point. Hey, listen, I hope you'll come back, Peter. I understand that you used to listen to WR show a little bit.
I did. I've been listening to you for a long time, Steve. I also live in New Jersey, so it's a pleasure to be on with you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, and we'll talk to you again. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for the schedule change. Appreciate that, too.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Peter Keating, ladies and gentlemen, senior writer at ESPN, the magazine. He's right about Goodell in the long run. He does work for the owners, so I shouldn't be surprised, although, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. However, having said that, I'm glad that Snyder, who owns the team, is sticking to his guns here. And look, there are a lot of teams that you could take issue with, mascots and names, and I have nothing against American Indians or Native Americans or whatever you want to call them. I mean, I was educated at a time when it was Indians, just Indians. Now we know, of course, that it was the Pilgrims who were evil and disease givers and murderers and scalpers and troublemakers and thieves. And it was the Indians at the time that were nothing but peace-loving. As a matter of fact, I think we taught them scalping. They just all the different tribes, the Apaches, and they did nothing but get along with each other until we got there. So I was misguided from the beginning with my schooling. I was taught kind of the opposite. That we were the good guys, that the Pilgrims were the good guys, that our founding fathers were the good guys, But I've been straightened out. I now know that I was just totally misled by, crotchety old white men and a few crotchety old white women as teachers. When the New York City school system was quote-unquote good, but we know that means really racist and bigoted and slanting history to favor, the Pilgrims and the founders and our history. But we know we're nothing but a racist nation, and how dare we have a name like Redskins? How dare we? We're coming back much more ahead on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction to alcohol or drugs, then you must listen to this message, because there is hope. No matter what addiction you or your loved one is coping with, you are just one phone call away from real help. Recovery Hotline makes the healing process simple and affordable by matching people to fully certified and experienced inpatient facilities that are right for their personal situations. Call 800-668-1286 now. Don't wait another day. Money does not have to be an issue. Most insurance is accepted. Just call 800-668-1286 today. Recovery Hotline's mission is to help you or someone you love begin the healing process and get back a healthy and sober life. And we can even help with family interventions and travel arrangements. One phone call is all it takes to get back the life you or your loved one deserves. The call is free. The help is real. Call 800-668-1286. That's 800-668-1286. 800-668-1286. Again, 800-668-1286.
According to the FBI Uniform Crime Report, there are over 5,000 robberies every day. Your home could be at risk of being burglarized. Don't put your loved ones and valuables in jeopardy. For just over $1 per day, your home can be protected from break-ins, fire, and more. Get the latest home security technology from Protect Your Home, your ADT authorized dealer. Over 6 million households sleep better at night with ADT monitored home security. What's more, Protect Your Home is offering you their latest equipment, an $850 value, absolutely free for qualified customers. Protect your loved ones and home today. Call now for licenses and to find out more. The call is free, 1-800-949-8201. That's 1-800-949-8201. Again, 1-800-949-8201. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $36.99 per month. Payment by credit card or electronic bank account charge. For new homeowner customers with satisfactory credit history only. Local permit fees may be required. Certain restrictions apply. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. 16-year-old Hannah Anderson will be reunited with her family as soon as today after an ordeal that started in San Diego and ended in rural Idaho. Police say James Lee DiMaggio, a friend of the family, killed Hannah's mother, Christina, and her 8-year-old brother, Ethan. He then kidnapped Hannah and escaped. Police throughout the West, Canada, and Mexico were all put on alert. The pair were spotted while camping in a remote part of Idaho Saturday. Other hikers called authorities, who then swooped in and saved Hannah. Her family says they cannot wait to get her back, but they also must now begin mourning.
We had to put the murder of Ethan and Tina on hold in the back of our minds because we had to totally focus on Hannah, period. So now we can take our time to grieve my daughter and my grandson.
Meanwhile, the suspect, DiMaggio, was killed during the rescue when a special unit of the FBI tried to apprehend him. And overseas, the Egyptian military are poised to clear out 2 areas where supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi have been camping out for weeks. But the Morsi supporters are refusing to move and appear ready to stand their ground. So far, more than 250 people have already been killed in clashes between the military and protesters since Morsi was removed from office. And Lod Snowden, the father of former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden, says he has obtained a visa from Russia and plans to travel to Moscow soon to visit with his son. Edward Snowden is wanted in the U.S. on charges of espionage after he says he leaked classified NSA material to the press. Lon Snowden says he wants his son to fight the charges in court so that he can one day visit this country again. Speaking on ABC's This Week, Lon Snowden says his son will not accept the plea deal.
Where my son chooses to live the rest of his life is going to be his decision, but I would like at some point in time for him to be able to come back to the U.S. because I believe that the truth will shine through.
Russia has granted Edward Snowden asylum for 1 year. And while it's never too early for potential presidential candidates to test the water in Iowa, Senators Ted Cruz, former Senator Rick Santorum, and Donald Trump made their way to Iowa this weekend for an event organized by an influential Christian group. The state's early caucuses often predict the party's eventual nominee some years, and Vice President Joe Biden also has a planned trip to Iowa next month. A lot of Democrats are also waiting for Hillary Clinton's first visit to Iowa of this election cycle. And coming up next on your Newsmax Now update, maybe the worst traffic in America today. This is an update on a massive pileup on a major U.S. interstate and why dozens of cars could not avoid it. Plus, a Newsmax exclusive with Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott on why he's ready for a fight with U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder over voting laws. Next.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurityFree.com. At SocialSecurityFree.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurityFree.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurityFree.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurityFree.com.
And how was your commute today? Probably not as bad as the dozens of drivers who got mixed up in this mess in Virginia. More than 40 cars slammed into each other on Interstate 81 overnight. The pileup forced police to close parts of the interstate for hours through today. Local news sources also reported a mother and small child had to be airlifted to a local hospital. Well, the fight over voting laws is heating up this summer, even after the Supreme Court's ruling on the historic Voting Rights Act. One of the front lines in this fight is in Texas, where Attorney General Greg Abbott, also a candidate for governor, says during a Newsmax exclusive that he's ready to take on U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder and the White House on this issue.
It's as though the Obama administration wants to keep Texas under their thumb for our election laws. And I got to tell you, John, there is a political reason behind this.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for August 12th. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Boy, that's a false narrative. He said that we're trying to keep people from having health care. That's just not true. That is an absolute blatant lie. We are not trying to keep anybody from getting health care, and whether or not they have insurance under an exchange or not does not prevent people from getting health care.
All right, there you go. He said it the way it should be said. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Congressman Louis Gohmert from the great state of Texas on with George Stephanopoulos, battling George Will yesterday and others, and he's joining us right now. Hello, Congressman.
Well, hello, and the real treat is getting to talk to you, Steve.
Oh, well, cut it out. Cut it. Flatteries, unfortunately, will get you nowhere because there's nowhere for me to put you. Now, let's tackle health care first here, which was the main topic of conversation on This Week with George Stephanopoulos, the show you were on yesterday on the Sunday show circuit. This claim by the president on Friday at his press conference that it's the holy grail of the Republicans to deny 30 million people health care. This guy just opens his mouth and the lies just keep on flowing.
Well, I think it's easier when you're reading things. I know from experience, having had a lot of polygraph operators that I've worked with in the past, they say, well, gee, if you're reading something, it's a lot easier to state an untruth and appear to mean it. I don't know what the case is, but President Obama knows that's a lie. He knows that we are not, Republicans are not trying to deprive anyone of health care, and in fact, it is exactly the opposite. That's what's so really infuriating. Under Obamacare, it's going to deny coverage. It's going to deny the level of care that people have been getting. So there really is a panel, whether you want to call it a death panel or not. They are going to decide, literally, well, gee, you're just a little bit older than we would like, so you don't get a new hip. You're going to have to live in pain the rest of your life, or you don't get a pacemaker, just like the president told the lady at the White House town hall some years back, well, maybe we're better off telling your mom just take a pain pill, and yet she had gotten a pacemaker that allowed her to live for 10 or plus years since she got it. That is what is going to deprive people of health care. We're trying to change Obamacare so people will have better coverage. And also, I am sick of people saying we have no alternative. He's a great guy, Joaquin Castro, just a great guy, very smart, but it is not true that we don't have alternatives, and anybody that says that has got their head buried in the sand. They're not aware of the bills. Heck, Steve, I've got a great bill. We'd be better off giving seniors a choice. We'll give you $5,000 cash in a health savings account to cover your deductible and buy you this fantastic Cadillac coverage to cover everything above that. That's an alternative. It would, in the long run, be a whole lot cheaper. So there are all kinds of alternatives, and I just get sick of all the lies. Really, if we're going to have a good discussion, people have got to quit lying so blatantly.
Well, Congressman, you're never going to get rid of the misrepresentations from the other side of the political aisle, led by the president, led by Castro. I believe he's the mayor of San Antonio, who you were on with, and also
well, he's the member of Congress. His brother Julian's the.
Oh, I didn't know which one was on. Okay, okay. All right, and also, Congressman, the media. The media is going to lie. But here's the thing. The head of the RNC was on another show, and when it came to talking about defunding health care, which is what George Will didn't think you guys should do because you'd be closing down the government, and you can't run the government from one branch of controlling one branch, which would be the House that you're in. I heard the head of the RNC actually say what I've been saying on this air for the past 3 weeks. It wouldn't be the Republicans closing down the government. It would be the president closing down the government.
Thank you. That is exactly right. And let me just say, I have nothing but the utmost respect for George Will. I just love the guy, always have. But no matter how brilliant you are and no matter how right you are most of the time, nobody's perfect. And he's just wrong on this. It would not be the Republicans. And Republican mainstreamers, Republican establishment folks need to get that through their head. We want to save America. And I brought out the point yesterday that's not being made, Steve. The president is really going to just squash the poor, individual guy that's just struggling to get by. And if you make as little as $14,000, that's 133% of the poverty level, then you're going to pay extra income tax if you don't buy the level of health care the government's mandating. And it's not. Oh, and then the president goes ahead and he gives big business a pass, but he won't give the poor individual guy a break, not one.
Yeah, it is just insane. But here's what you guys got to do, Congressman, and I'm not telling you what to do. You got to produce a piece of paper with a list of the things that people like about Obamacare that you guys have also admitted should remain, like extending, I guess, health care benefits to the young adults and closing the donut hole and whatever the heck else is on there, that pre-existing conditions, and show them, here's 1 or 2 pages, not 18,000. Here are the same things that you like that are in it, but the travesty of the other 18,000 pages are not in it. That's what I think you guys got to go around and do.
Yeah, actually, I think my bill is about 28 pages. And it was an alternative, and Newt Gingrich said, man, you get that score, that will change the whole debate.
Yeah.
This was way before Obamacare, and, of course, CBO acting at the behest or helping his Democratic friends, they never would score the bill, even though the top Republicans were asking, please, score Gohmert's bill, and he never would score it.
But here's the problem. We're talking to Congressman Louis Gohmert of Texas on the Steve Malzberg Show. One more question on health care. At the end of the interview yesterday, you were asked, what's the prospect? Do you have enough Republican support to stand your ground, to take a stand, to defund Obamacare in full or in part? And you said no, right now we don't. And that's the sad truth. The leadership wants no part of this.
Yep, but the difference is if people will let their members of Congress and even their senators know that they're going to be primaried, there's going to be problems unless they step up and help us stop this terrible thing that's going to hurt so many Americans called Obamacare. Unless they do that, stand up for what's right, they're going to have problems. If people will let their members know that, then you're going to have enough members stand up and do the right thing. That's the great thing about America. But you have to make your voice heard in order for that to happen.
202-224-3121. 202-225-3121. 224-3121. 202-224-3121. That's the number to call any senator, any congressman. All right, let's move on. The Justice Department announcing today that they're going to try to, their excuses, they're going to try to ease overcrowding in the federal prisons by ordering prosecutors to leave out listing the quantities of illegal substances in indictments for low-level drug cases, sidestepping federal laws that impose strict mandatory minimum sentences for drug-related offenses. So here they go again. By mandate, having nothing to do with Congress, they're just going to decide which laws to follow and which parts of laws to follow. I mean, this is insane.
It is, except this is as you point out, Steve, this is their mode of operation. They just don't follow the laws they don't want to follow. They don't enforce the ones they don't want to follow. And I tell you what, though, in that release there was a great statement that I'm glad somebody in this administration finally admitted, because they're constantly screaming about all the hate violence and all this kind of stuff. And, of course, we know that this president, this administration has done more to stir up racial tension and violence than any administration since, the 60s. I thought we were going to have a post-racial president, and he's become the president of division, of envy, of jealousy. And so, anyway, but the point they make is violence is down. And that's what a lot of us have been saying is they've tried to push it. Oh, they say on the one hand violence is up. We got to do all these things. Violence isn't up. It's down. And if you will look historically, what happens, Steve, is a society will get sick of violence, and they'll toughen up the criminal laws, and they'll put away people that are acting violently. And so often the violence does involve drugs, not all the time, but it is a big factor. And then you'll see, wow, look how many people they've locked up, but you see the violence rate go down. You see the crime rate go down. And then as that goes down, then you have people like Holder just say, hey, the rate's down, so it's okay to start releasing people again, which means invariably the crime rate will start going up, and you'll start seeing things go the way we don't want them to go.
And that in combination with a judge ruling that New York City's stop and frisk is unconstitutional, we're headed for the reversal. You're absolutely right. One more for you.
But the Supreme Court has made very clear the stop and frisk. It's called the Terry rule. It goes back to the 60s, and it's why I was rather shocked that they overruled Arizona's law. I mean, basically, the Terry frisk has been in the law. It's been part of the law for so many years. And so you've got some numbskull judge in one state that says, yeah, I'm just going to disregard what the Supreme Court says. I don't care.
Well, hopefully the Supreme Court will will be the same Supreme Court at least, and Obama won't have two more appointees when this case finally reaches it. Let me ask you this real quick in closing. We get a report from McClatchy news sources today, quoting a high-ranking Yemeni security official speaking on the condition of anonymity, who said that the embassy threat attack, or the embassy attack threat, had no basis in fact, and said that this was all done so that the U.S. could launch some drone attacks on Yemeni terrorists and be justified in doing so. Now, you were against closing the embassies. Most of them have now been opened. What's your take on this?
Well, I was okay with closing the embassies if this administration was going to continue to refuse to properly secure them. But the better thing to do was to secure our embassies so that we don't look like a bunch of cowards to the world. This is massive recruiting material for the most violent radical Islamists. When they see us turn tail and run, which this administration did, whether it was based on in fact or not, it looks terrible. It's a recruiting tool for the violent look. You know, America is a paper tiger. They used 1979 and the Carter administration's refusal to do anything effectively. They used 1983, the bombing in Beirut after the president I loved, but he didn't have the support of Congress. He pulled people out of Beirut after we were attacked. Every time there's been an attack and we don't respond, it's used to recruit, and this is the same way it will be used to recruit people that will hurt us down the road.
Congressman Gohmert, my friend, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Always great to talk to you, Steve. Thanks so much.
Take care. Congressman Louis Gohmert, ladies and gentlemen, first CD from the state of Texas. 855-777-9660 if you want to weigh in on anything you've just heard, stop and frisk, or the drug sentencing laws, or the embassies, or health care. All here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention, if you've been classified as a high-risk driver due to DUI, DWI, or tickets for aggressive driving and are required to get expensive and hard-to-find SR22 auto insurance, then you must listen to this message because we can help. We're the largest insurance company in the U.S. specializing in SR22 auto insurance and focused on serving the needs of customers classified by the state as high-risk drivers. We help people get back on their feet by providing easy-to-get, low-cost SR22 insurance that anyone can afford. If you need SR22 auto insurance, or if you have it now and are paying too much, you need to call us today for your free quote at 800-836-4606. Our specialists are standing by waiting for your call. We understand people make mistakes, and we're here to help by making SR22 insurance easy to get and affordable for everyone. The call and quote are free. Call us now at 800-836-4606. That's 800-836-4606. Again, 800-836-4606.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of LigNet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard LigNet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is LigNet? LigNet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C. based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting. LigNet staff and advisors include former CIA officers, national security experts, presidential advisors, and top-level government officials from around the world. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of State, and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Peter Hoekstra also joined our advisory board staff. Every day, our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, LigNet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events. There are many. Every day, LigNet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on LigNet's assessments. LigNet members receive unrestricted access to LigNet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get top-notch analysis that resembles the President's Daily Brief, the classified intelligence assessment delivered to the President of the United States every morning. LigNet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what LigNet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable LigNet can be. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power.
Join LigNet for $1. Go to lignet.com.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, welcome back. Steve Malzberg with you. Louis Gohmert's great, isn't he? And coming up later in this, at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk to Jimmy McMillan, founder and chairman of the Rent is Too Damn High Party. That's right. He runs for office in New York City on the platform that the rent is too damn high. He's also a big supporter of Anthony Weiner. And he just wrote a piece on Huffington Post, as to why he supports Anthony Weiner. We got some Weiner news, too. We'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. And then the great Byron York, chief political correspondent for the Washington Examiner, will join us also in the next half hour. So we have a full, and then Judge Mukasey, former U.S. Attorney General, Judge Michael Mukasey, will weigh in on the NYPD stop and frisk decision rendered today, and also Attorney General Eric Holder's decision to try to circumvent mandatory sentencing by not enforcing portions of the law. That's basically what he's doing. But having said that, did you catch CNN reliable sources on Sunday? They got a host du jour ever since Howard Kurtz left to go to Fox, or was fired to go to Fox. Listen to as they're talking about Alec Baldwin getting a show on MSNBC on Friday nights. Something's missing. Something's really missing here. Actually, quite a few things are missing here. You tell me if you know what they are. I want you to listen to it's who is it? It's Seltzer. Brian Seltzer of the New York Times is the host. He's got Jane Hall and Paul Farhi as his guests. You talk about a far left reliable sources. Anyway, here's cut 28.
One more NBC story this week. Alec Baldwin in talks for a show on MSNBC. This is not a joke. I think it may be announced as early as this week. Will you all be watching an Alec Baldwin talk show?
I'd watch that. I think he's an interesting personality. Look, the cable networks do not have hosts who are from a news background necessarily. Why not Alec Baldwin? He's a guy who mixes it up. It could be exciting and energetic.
I think it could be good. You know, I've interviewed him. He's very interested in politics. How he would be on a regular show, and you have to book people, you have to be a host. How the rest of the lineup feels about this, I'd be curious to know how some of the other hosts feel about him. He certainly would get a lot of tune in the beginning.
I think so.
For sure.
He's got a great podcast, so if it's anything like the podcast he does online, could be great.
Could be great. Could be great. Why not Alec Baldwin? I can't read my own scribble here. Why not Alec Baldwin? Leave it to MSNBC to take a man who's been accused of homophobia and racism. Ooh, did that sound like Al Sharpton's description? Oh, but see, Al Sharpton's racism, alleged, is geared towards whites, or has been in the past. Alec Baldwin's alleged racism is geared towards blacks. That's the mitigating circumstance here that makes it kind of shocking. I mean, the man already works for NBC. The man already works for NBC. Is he out of his mind? Who's more out of their mind, do you think? Anthony Weiner or Alec Baldwin? Alec Baldwin has been accused of, and some have been shown, has been accused on several occasions of harassing, grabbing, and berating photographers, putting his hand on a photographer, calling one black photographer Rodney, even though his name wasn't Rodney, and then making another disparaging remark allegedly to another black photographer. I forget what he said about him. And then, of course, there's the conversation or the tape he left on his daughter's machine where he called her names when she was a young little kid. And the homophobia is going to stick his boot up the blank of a photographer, but I won't do it because you'd like it too much. All these and getting thrown off the airplane. Why not Alec Baldwin? If I ever did one of those things, I'd be out on my butt. Why not Alec Baldwin? Folks, this is at the epitome of the double standard on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you need to lose weight and would like to get paid for it, that's right, I said get paid to lose weight. Just listen to the following announcement. The makers of GCE Green Coffee Bean Weight Loss are looking for real testimonials from real people and will pay you per pound to meet or exceed your weight loss goal. Until now, the secrets of green coffee's fat-burning power has been limited, but thanks to Dr. Oz, the secret is out. And now, this authentic green coffee bean fat burner is available in easy-to-take tablets. There are no expensive meals to buy or strenuous workouts. Simply take one tablet before each meal and record your progress. Only the first 200 callers are guaranteed to be accepted into the program. So if you're serious about losing extra weight and want to earn extra cash for fitting into your skinny jeans again, call 800-383-9230 now. Call 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. Space is limited, so hurry and secure your spot today. 800-383-9230. Some conditions apply. 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming. The shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5 ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
If your prostate is giving you problems and your doc says it's just part of getting older, be wary. Renowned physician and author Dr. David Brownstein thinks this is baloney. He's discovered a link between aging and prostate health and believes prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. That's why he created Prostate Revive.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Brownstein. I personally formulated Prostate Revive to include the most essential natural ingredients available to help promote a healthy prostate gland and optimal urinary function.
The producers of Dr. Brownstein's Prostate Revive are so thrilled with the positive feedback from satisfied customers that for a limited time, they are willing to send you your first month's supply free. Plus, call now and you'll also receive Dr. Brownstein's special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. For details on getting your free bottle, call 1-800-596-REVIVE. That's 1-800-596-REVIVE. Take control with Prostate Revive. Call now while supplies last to claim your risk-free bottle at 1-800-596-REVIVE.
My patients still don't know what Obamacare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. Obamacare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the Obamacare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
I've waged a campaign focused like a laser beam on fighting for the middle class and those struggling to make it. I've put out 2 books of new ideas, 125 of them in fact. Everything from restoring discipline in our schools to creating a single-payer health plan for our city. Look, powerful voices have made it clear from the very beginning they didn't want me to win. But this isn't about what they want. They've gotten their way for far too long. If you give me the chance, I will fight for you and your family every single day.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Anthony Weiner's ad, which was unveiled today. I think that's his first TV ad as he runs for mayor. And as he runs for mayor, by the way, this 30-second ad, you might notice, had no mention of any of his shenanigans, nor did it have any pictures of his private parts. By the way, you want to weigh in on Anthony Weiner, 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660. Because let me tell you a little bit about Anthony Weiner. On the day that he unveils this ad, Anthony Weiner has broken a record. No, not for that. Come on. He might have broken that record. I don't know. But Anthony Weiner, more than 2/3 of New Yorkers find Anthony Weiner and Eliot Spitzer's campaigns embarrassing, quote unquote, and Weiner's unfavorable rating has set a record. This is according to the Siena College poll. You ready for this? 80% view Anthony Weiner as unfavorable. 80%. That is a record for Siena polling for an unfavorable rating. That is insane, to put it mildly. To put it very mildly. Elliot Spitzer fares better. He has an unfavorable rating of 59%. So 11% have a favorable rating of Anthony, I got a sick mind, Weiner. And there's more. There's more. Oh, there's so much more because it just never ends. According to the New York Post, Anthony Weiner may be filming right now, or he's being filmed for a possible documentary. That's right. Even if he doesn't make it to Gracie Mansion, he could star in a documentary film about his headline-grabbing campaign. And that's not all it grabbed, but Actually, I have that here. I'm going to do it. You want to hear a little whoop ass? Here's whoop ass.
Whoop ass.
There you go. You want to hear the drum roll? Where's the you want to hear Obama make a false promise?
If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor.
There you go. Yeah, you know what that was?
Creepy ass cracker.
No, well, that's the wrong one. Okay, here we go. Let me see. I can't. Yeah, well, I can't find it. I will find it, and I will do the the rim shot whenever I can. Okay, but we got creepy ass cracker in there, and that's always good. Anyway, so the Weiner camp would only say that this recording that's being done by a MTV filmmaker, Josh Kriegman, who was also Weiner's former congressional district director. They're filming every last word he says on the campaign trail. He's often seen riding with Weiner, and a black mic box has been in Weiner's back pants pocket. Could you make this up? Weiner has a black mic box in his back pants pocket. Say that 3 times fast. For the last 2 weeks. Camp Weiner would only say the recording is not for a TV commercial. Camp Weiner. Oh, my gosh. Now, Kriegman does not appear anywhere on Weiner's recent campaign filings, though he worked for him as recently as 2005. He has declined comment. He appears to be with Weiner all the time. He's been at all retail stops, street fairs, forums. This is insane. This is just insane. Now, how much do you think they would actually make from a Weiner documentary? At the Dominican Day Parade yesterday, Weiner waved a big flag and dashed around shouting, "Viva la República Dominica." The response ranged from "We love you, Weiner," to "You're a piece of blank," to "Text me." This according to Sally Goldenberg and Beth DeFalco at the New York Post. I'm not making this up. When a woman lit into Weiner at a subway stop near the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, the flustered candidate finally told her to beat it. Kriegman was filming from the start. I'm telling you, he's putting on a show. He knows he's not going to win any election. He knows he's not going to win an election. Now, we just got stood up, apparently, by Jimmy McMillan, Jimmy Mac, or the Rent's Too Damn High, as he is better known. And Jimmy McMillan, most recently, has been a political candidate in New York. He ran for mayor not too long ago, and the ticket was the Rent's Too Damn High ticket, or his party was the Rent's Too Damn High party. Okay, he's a character, and he said he wrote a piece at Huffington Post why I endorse Anthony Weiner. I said it once, I'll say it again. We're all freaky, and Anthony Weiner's just expressed his freakyism in the wrong way. My endorsement of Weiner for mayor is a simple matter. The Democratic and Republican candidates have chosen to waste their energy condemning Weiner for his personal problems, and in doing so have managed to draw attention away from what's really at stake, the issues of the people and the problems affecting ordinary citizens of New York. Blah, 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 blah. I'm tired of the manipulation that's gone on between candidates, he said. They're playing the silly game. It's politics as usual, and it's got to stop. Now, Weiner's obviously not completely focused on the issues either. He clearly has some personal issues he needs to address right now, but I imagine he's more focused on the issues, just trying to minimize the scandal than any of the others. Then he goes through a whole bunch of them, and he finishes, as for Anthony Weiner, my fellow mayoral candidates ought to remember that there are matters of greater concern in the mayor's race than Weiner's weenie and his alleged pathological sexting. Let his psychiatrist deal with that, because this election is farcical enough. They were calling me New York's Aristotle just last week, so hear me. Let he who is without sin cast the first stones. Okay. So Jimmy McMillan is backing Weiner, and that, my friends, and whatever the cost of a subway token is, will get you on the subway. I don't know if we'll get Weiner on the subway. Would you want to sit opposite Weiner in the subway? If you're a female, would you want to sit opposite Weiner in a subway, crowded or otherwise, with him looking at you? You know, God knows where his hands are. I'm telling you. It's got to be as creepy as creepy could be. It really has got to be creepy. All right, rest of the show, I'll tell you what we have on tap for you. Just a few minutes, we're going to be talking to Byron York, chief political correspondent for the Washington Examiner, about what the Republicans are hearing from their constituents on the break. We'll talk to Judge Michael Mukasey, former Attorney General of the United States, about Eric Holder's announcement today that he's basically changing the law on his own. He's going to choose what to enforce and what not to enforce in order to minimize mandatory sentencing and lower the prison rate. Good luck with that. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Chicago Sun-Times. The Chicago Sun-Times censored an art critic over comments about Muslim profiling and whether political ideas should be discussed in a review. It was a museum. And she gives her, her little opinion on something regarding Muslim profiling. And the Chicago Sun-Times censored it. We'll talk to Glenn Garvin, TV critic at the Miami Herald. She wanted to come on, but let's just say her publication wasn't thrilled about her doing any more interviews. So we went to the Miami Herald, our friends down in Miami. So we'll talk about that. That'll be in the last half hour of the show. But we're coming back, and we'll be joined by the great Byron York. You read him at the Washington Examiner. You see him with Greta very often on the Fox News channel. He will be right here when we come back on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us now is our friend Byron York, Chief Political Correspondent for the Washington Examiner. Hey, Byron.
Hi, Steve. Good to be here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, as always. All right, so the Republicans are home, as are the Democrats, recess, and they're going around town halls and et cetera. What's going to come out of this? You wrote a piece the other day at the Washington Examiner asking the question, is Obamacare or immigration going to turn out to be the Republican priority coming out of this recess? Which do you think?
Well, it seems right now that a lot of the intensity with the Republican base is on Obamacare. There's an enormous amount of base support for this move to defund it, even at a time where a lot of senior Republican lawmakers say you just can't do that. It's not possible, given the Republicans don't control the Senate and don't control the White House. But the fact is, I think a lot of Republican voters would like to see something happen on that. The kind of ironic thing about that is that Obamacare is already the law. It's very difficult to change it. Immigration reform, on the other hand, is not the law. It's just a bill that's been passed by the Senate, and it's something that Republicans control the future of, and it's going to be interesting to see how much they actually talk about that at home in August.
Now, when they come back, I mean, is it going to be either or, do you think? I mean, do they have to pick a priority, or couldn't they be, strong on both? I mean, to be honest with you, the leadership, like you said, has shown absolutely, and I'm talking about in the House, the Senate almost goes without saying, has shown no interest in defunding Obamacare, even though the head of the RNC came out yesterday and said, hey, if the government got shut down because we voted not to fund parts or all of Obamacare in a budget or a CR, it's not us who's going to shut down the government. It's going to be the president and the Republicans who won't accept that. So they're shutting down the government. I mean, and I kind of have to, I mean, the media won't present it that way, and the Democrats won't present it that way, but I'm glad I finally heard a Republican say that. But do they have a chance, the few Republicans who wanted to fund Obamacare, any hope at all of that, no matter what their constituents say, of that being the case when the House comes back?
You know, I really don't think they do, and it's because of the Senate. The House certainly could pass a bill that would fund the rest of the government but would defund Obamacare. There's no doubt that House majority Republicans could do that. But in the Senate, clearly they couldn't pass a bill doing that, and I don't think they can stop a bill that does fund Obamacare because, first of all, there's only 46 Republicans in the Senate, and several of them, you'd need 41 to sustain a filibuster, and several Republicans, I listed 8 in a column I did a couple of days ago, have said they're not going to be any part of that effort to defund Obamacare. So there are not even enough Republicans on board to stop a filibuster in the Senate.
Which would result, if the House did do that and the Senate did do that, which would result in a stalemate and a shutdown of the government. But then who's to say who's to blame?
Well, I think, yeah, who's to say who's to blame? But I do think a lot of Republicans believe that in the press they would get the blame.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think you and I would probably agree with that as well. So they think it would be an uphill task to try to make the case that no, we didn't shut down the government. It was the president who's determined to fund Obamacare who shut down the government. I think a lot of Republicans see that as a fight they will not win.
All right. Now, you know what I hope doesn't happen is I hope it doesn't become, and I don't think you presented it as an either or, but I hope it doesn't become an either or in the minds of, again, the leadership in the House, which, if I had my druthers, they wouldn't be the leadership of the House, but nonetheless they are. I hope so much focus isn't put on Obamacare that they feel a carte blanche, if you will, to move ahead with parts of, they're going to do it piecemeal, but even Chuck Schumer said, hey, that's okay by us. I hope that Boehner and the leadership doesn't, get weak-kneed on this immigration, saying, hey, everybody wanted to talk about Obamacare. I hardly heard anything about immigration. The Republicans really don't care about it. Our constituency isn't rallied up about it, so let's just pass it. And I hope that doesn't happen. Do you think there's a danger there?
I think there is a danger there. I think you've got it exactly right. I think there's a possibility that two things could happen. That one, a lot of the Republican base thinks immigration reform is just kind of dead already, so they're not making a big deal out of it at the August recess town halls. And then two, lawmakers come back from the August recess town halls and say, boy, we didn't hear much about immigration. I guess they're not really all that opposed to it. And then they go ahead with it. And you've heard Senator Schumer, you've heard Senator McCain say, just get us a bill to a conference committee, and then we'll get you something you really like. And that suggests that the framers of the Gang of Eight legislation believe that if there's some sort of conference committee between a House bill and their Gang of Eight Senate bill, that they can come up with something that looks a lot like this Gang of Eight bill.
Yeah, well, for people who really, like you said, who think that immigration reform is pretty much dead, I think they're in for a rude awakening. We're talking to Byron York, chief political correspondent for the Washington Examiner, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Okay, Ted Cruz, you wrote about this yesterday. Ted Cruz is the front runner in Iowa, apparently. Of course, the media has done everything they can to demonize this guy inside out, and it's only just begun, as they say. So does Ted Cruz have legs beyond Iowa?
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, the polls don't show him, leading the pack right now. As a matter of fact, there was a poll about a month ago that showed him in 6th place in Iowa. But there is absolutely no doubt that he is the hot candidate of the moment in Iowa. He just finished, there was a big meeting of social conservatives, evangelicals in Ames, Iowa, over the weekend. Rick Santorum spoke. Ted Cruz spoke. Santorum got a very good, enthusiastic, warm reception. Republicans there like him a lot. Ted Cruz just got a blowout, over-the-top, super enthusiastic reception. There's just no doubt that he is the one who is exciting them right now. Don't know where that's going to go. I mean, obviously we don't know if Ted Cruz is even running yet, but I do think it suggests that a lot of the Republican base is looking for a candidate who can position himself kind of like Cruz, who doesn't have a long record to defend, who just, he just got to the Senate 8 months ago. And
wait, that sounds familiar, like another story.
Well, exactly. And if you talk to the Cruz people, they say, look, Barack Obama got elected in 2004, comes to the Senate in January of 2005, immediately starts running for president, and didn't do anything in the Senate, which is the way, by the way, to get to the White House. You don't sort of compile this record that you have to defend.
Right.
Some people like and some people don't like. So, Cruz is really, really exciting a lot of Republicans at this very moment.
Okay, finally, you mentioned Rick Santorum. You wrote a piece. You and your colleague Philip Klein went back and forth on whether or not Rick Santorum should be considered a front runner for 2016. We're going to have Rick on in a few days again. And you seem to think that economically speaking, he hit the right note the last time around.
Yeah, he did. First of all, Republicans do have kind of a habit of nominating the guy who finished second the last time around. Well, Rick Santorum finished second. Not only finished second, he won 11 primaries and caucuses the last time around. So you'd think that he would be in a pretty solid position for 2016, and yet nobody talks about him as a front runner or potential front runner for the race. One of the things I said, and I sat down and talked to him for about a week about an hour last week, is that he really has, I think, the most cogent analysis of why Republicans lost in 2012. And they lost because they didn't appeal to those millions of Americans who've seen their standard of living go down in the past decades, not just this economic downturn, but even before that. And Mitt Romney just did not appeal to those people, and they're the ones who stayed home. They didn't vote for Barack Obama. They're not Democrats. They're the ones who stayed home and didn't vote for anybody. And Santorum's message is Republicans have to start appealing to them.
Absolutely. One final question. Does he have to tone down socially?
Well, he has to be smarter about it because he certainly, I guess, stuck his foot in his mouth a number of times, usually over social issues in the campaign, in which he didn't really have to do that. I mean, he easily could have handled loaded questions about social issues in a better way and not made it the centerpiece. He knows that he is viewed as a social issues candidate, and yet if you, specifically a pro-life candidate, and yet if you followed him around the campaign trail, as I did in Iowa, he talked a lot more about the economy. He talked more about national security than he talked about social issues. So he knows he's got to be careful on that, and we'll see if he actually does better.
It was a pleasure, sir. As always, Byron York, Chief Political Correspondent, The Washington Examiner. We'll watch you on Fox News Channel as well. Thank you for your time, as always, Byron.
Thank you, Steve.
Take care. Byron York, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. 855-777-9660. How do you feel about Rick Santorum? I love Rick Santorum. And I think he doesn't shy away from the social questions and answers because he feels it in his heart. And when I say does he have to shy away, I'm not suggesting he does. I was just asking to become the nominee. Does he have to? But then again, you don't want to change, and you don't want to become a hypocrite, and be accused of flip-flopping. And I don't think he would ever flip-flop on social issues. He just might have to tone it down a bit to have more mass appeal with the general public. All right, we're coming back right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really?
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. 16-year-old Hannah Anderson will be reunited with her family as soon as today after an ordeal that started in San Diego and ended in rural Idaho. Police say James Lee DiMaggio, a friend of the family, killed Hannah's mother, Christina, and her 8-year-old brother, Ethan. He then kidnapped Hannah and escaped. Police throughout the West, Canada, and Mexico were all put on alert. The pair were spotted while camping in a remote part of Idaho Saturday. Other hikers called authorities, who then swooped in and saved Hannah. Her family says they cannot wait to get her back, but they also must now begin mourning.
We had to put the murder of Ethan and Tina on hold in the back of our minds because we had to totally focus on Hannah, period. So now we can take our time to grieve my daughter and my grandson.
Meanwhile, the suspect, DiMaggio, was killed during the rescue when a special unit of the FBI tried to apprehend him. And overseas, the Egyptian military are poised to clear out 2 areas where supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi have been camping out for weeks. But the Morsi supporters are refusing to move and appear ready to stand their ground. So far, more than 250 people have already been killed in clashes between the military and protesters since Morsi was removed from office. And Lod Snowden, the father of former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden, says he has obtained a visa from Russia and plans to travel to Moscow soon to visit with his son. Edward Snowden is wanted in the U.S. on charges of espionage after he says he leaked classified NSA material to the press. Lon Snowden says he wants his son to fight the charges in court so that he can one day visit this country again. Speaking on ABC's This Week, Lon Snowden says his son will not accept the plea deal.
Where my son chooses to live the rest of his life is going to be his decision, but I would like at some point in time for him to be able to come back to the U.S. because I believe that the truth will shine through.
Russia has granted Edward Snowden asylum for 1 year. And while it's never too early for potential presidential candidates to test the water in Iowa, Senators Ted Cruz, former Senator Rick Santorum, and Donald Trump made their way to Iowa this weekend for an event organized by an influential Christian group. The state's early caucuses often predict the party's eventual nominee some years, and Vice President Joe Biden also has a planned trip to Iowa next month. A lot of Democrats are also waiting for Hillary Clinton's first visit to Iowa of this election cycle. And coming up next on your Newsmax Now update, maybe the worst traffic in America today. This is an update on a massive pileup on a major U.S. interstate and why dozens of cars could not avoid it. Plus, a Newsmax exclusive with Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott on why he's ready for a fight with U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder over voting laws. Next.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com. In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com.
I love you, son. So it hurts when you say I hate you. I'm your mother. I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way. I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight. So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program. We're not going to scream and fight anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do in a different way, and you're going to do it. You're not going to call me ugly names anymore, and if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names. We're not going to do things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the Total Transformation way.
Get the Total Transformation free. Just order the program, tell us how it works for you, and you can keep it for free. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520. Call now. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520.
And how was your commute today? Probably not as bad as the dozens of drivers who got mixed up in this mess in Virginia. More than 40 cars slammed into each other on Interstate 81 overnight. The pileup forced police to close parts of the interstate for hours through today. Local news sources also reported a mother and small child had to be airlifted to a local hospital. Well, the fight over voting laws is heating up this summer, even after the Supreme Court's ruling on the historic Voting Rights Act. One of the front lines in this fight is in Texas, where Attorney General Greg Abbott, also a candidate for governor, says during a Newsmax exclusive that he's ready to take on U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder and the White House on this issue.
It's as though the Obama administration wants to keep Texas under their thumb for our election laws. And I got to tell you, John, there is a political reason behind this.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for August 12th. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
It's clear as we come together today that too many Americans go to too many prisons for far too long and for no truly good law enforcement reason. It's clear that at a very basic level, the 20th century criminal justice solutions are not adequate to overcome our 21st century challenges. And again, it is well past time to implement common sense changes that will foster safer communities from coast to coast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. That was Attorney General Eric Holder earlier today announcing that the Justice Department will no longer pursue certain mandatory minimum sentences when it comes to certain drug offenses. Joining us now is Judge Marchese, who, of course, was Michael Marchese, who was, of course, the Attorney General of the United States under George W. Bush. Judge, good to talk to you again, sir.
Good to be with you.
All right. So you heard Attorney General Holder talk about basically some of his thoughts about our criminal justice system. He went on to say that the criminal justice system is broken and cited that 1/4 of the world's prison population, or just about, is here in the United States of America. Talk about what you think of his declaration today.
Well, it's interesting, not particularly logical, but interesting. The proportion of people imprisoned in the United States is absolutely no indication of whether we're doing too much or too little. I think that if there are sensible proposals to be made for diminishing the amount of incarceration, I'm all for them. If there are sensible proposals to be made for eliminating mandatory minimums, I'm all for that. But saying that you're not going to enforce the law isn't the way to do it.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. Of course, and I want to get back to this, but this is just kind of the latest You have President Obama delaying the employer mandate portion of Obamacare. You've had the immigration law altered by the Obama administration deciding what to go after and who to go after and who not to go after, and which part of the laws to enforce and which not. The requirement for work in the welfare reform bill, the president changed that a bit as well. And then there were the recess appointments, which at least 2 courts, I think 3, have found to be unconstitutional. Do you see a pattern here?
Well, it's hard not to. In this case, not only have they chosen to disregard the mandatory minimum statutes and said essentially that even if somebody is caught with an amount of drugs that would trigger the mandatory minimum, we're going to hide that. We're not going to include it in the charge. We're going to keep that from the court and file a charge only of a lesser amount, which I think is a violation of the law. But Congress passed a statute that talked about the circumstances in which the mandatory minimum would not apply. It listed certain criteria at the time of sentence, and it said that if a defendant meets those criteria at the time of sentence, including that he has disclosed everything about the circumstances of the crime to the prosecutor, then the judge does not have to impose what would otherwise be a mandatory minimum. What he's saying is that we're going to make that decision at the time that a charge is filed, when, of course, very little is known about a defendant compared to what could be learned later on, and a defendant will have absolutely no incentive to disclose all the circumstances of the crime because there's no leverage on it.
Right. Two very interesting things that come out of what you just said. So in an attempt to, or as stated by Attorney General Holder, that low-level drug offenders who are not involved in gangs, not involved in high-class selling or major selling of drugs, et cetera, we want to keep them out of prison. But you're saying that you may not know all the facts and may not know all the involvement because you're giving them this break.
Well, you're not going to know them certainly at the time that they are first picked up,
right?
Which is when the charging decision is made. The sentencing decision is made after facts have been learned, after a defendant has pleaded guilty, after a defendant has disclosed all that he knows, and the prosecutor has had an opportunity to check on it if he wants to take that opportunity, and then the sentencing judge can go outside the mandatory minimum. But doing it this way, I think, diminishes the incentive for getting any information at all, in addition to being a violation of the law.
And you also, that's what I wanted to pick up on. You also said it's a violation of the law. So you're saying that if in fact Eric Holder goes through with this and the Justice Department goes through with this and this is the new policy, that this in fact will be a violation of U.S. law?
Yes, sir. Congress passed statute, whether wisely or unwisely, is not for him to decide, imposing mandatory minimums on certain levels of drug trafficking. And if we want to get rid of those, then the way to do it is to pass another law getting rid of them, or to do what Congress did, which is to pass a statute that says that they don't apply in certain cases. But what he's saying is, I'm not even going to apply that. I'm going to have us make that decision at the time a charge is initially filed.
Is this analogous to the other instances of enforcing the parts of laws you want to enforce and not enforcing, and or is this? Do you think that this stands above the rest, and is this kind of unprecedented in your view?
Well, it's precedented only to the extent that they've done it in the other situations that you mentioned. I don't know of any other situation in which an administration has repeatedly said we're going to enforce the laws and uphold the laws that we agree with, and we're going to disregard the rest.
We're talking to Judge Michael Mukasey, former U.S. Attorney General, of course, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Always great to have him with us. Is there any, could any party now go forward and try to stop this by going to the courts and saying that this is a violation of current law?
Well, I guess it's conceivable that, there'd be a question of who has standing to do it. I guess it's conceivable that members of Congress could sue. But that's not something I've looked into. And in any event, I think that most people believe that mandatory minimums should be either diminished or gotten rid of. But as I said, the way to do that is to pass a law, not to do it this way.
Right. Now, you've said that. Why do you believe that that mandatory minimum should be done away with, sir?
Because I think that they needlessly handcuff judges, and these were meant to get around situations where judges were imposing sentences that some legislators thought were too lenient. And so what they said was, well, we're going to make the minimum mandatory so that the judge has no choice. But I think that is a misperception, and allowing the government to appeal some sentences is the solution to that, without imposing a mandatory minimum. I had a case involving a mandatory minimum where I thought the defendant should not have been sentenced that way. This was the girlfriend of a drug dealer who was forced to carry a package, and when she was picked up, she had a package that contained a large amount of drugs. She was subject to a mandatory minimum.
Interesting. All right, let's move on, if we can, to a decision today in federal court here in New York. A judge has appointed an outside set of eyes to oversee changes to NYPD's Stop and Frisk program. She said that the program as it now exists infringes on the 4th and the 14th Amendments. Basically, she said, and I'm putting it in layman's terms, that too many minorities were being stopped under this program, even though the police claim in defending this suit, and the city claims that the minority communities are the high crime areas. Minorities themselves commit a hugely disproportionate amount of the crimes, and that the murder rates and the crime rates have dropped not only citywide but in these minority communities. So how do you see today's decision?
Well, I think today's decision was probably expected, but is really unfortunate. In fact, I looked through it. It's 180 some odd
it's
pages.
a long one.
It's a long one. But this judge has taken on herself the authority to essentially regulate the New York City Police Department, to put in place a monitor, to require that the police department have a pilot program of body cameras in which police would carry cameras on their bodies. And it's based entirely on statistics, when what the law requires is an intent to discriminate. And, Benjamin Disraeli is famous for having said many things, but one of the things he said that couldn't be truer is that there are 3 categories of falsehood. There's lies, damned lies, and statistics are the worst of all. And this decision is based entirely on statistics.
And would you go so far as to say that, this just reinforces, to me, the blind redefining of racial profiling as something evil. Profiling is something police do on various levels. Racial profiling, the bad thing that they refer to is what happened on the Jersey Turnpike when cops were stopping blacks for no reason and harassing them. I don't call that racial profiling. I call that harassment.
Or when they were just stopping black speeders but not white speeders. I mean, that's
right. That's awful.
Right. That's horrible. That is blatant discrimination, and that should not happen. But when a police department draws a profile, just as, for example, the Israeli intelligence people, the people who screen people at airports, draw a profile of what a terrorist is likely to look like, and they don't wind up searching little old ladies with walkers. This is the same thing.
Do you think that this on appeal will be overturned, make it to the Supreme Court eventually, or what?
I don't know about the Supreme Court. If I had to bet, I would certainly bet that it's going to be overturned. I think this is going to have the durability of one of those $3 umbrellas that you buy in New York, and they collapse as soon as the wind kicks up.
Judge, it's always a pleasure and an honor to speak to you. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. That's Judge Michael Mukasey, former U.S. Attorney General, and very interesting observations, not the least of which is that what Attorney General Holder is now going to put into place is against the law, that he hasn't studied it, but he believes that if members of Congress wanted to take this decision to court, they would possibly have standing, he wasn't sure, and could fight it in court. And with regards to stop and frisk, that it will be overturned. He doesn't believe it has any legs to stand on. So very interesting indeed, and we always enjoy talking to him. If you want to weigh in on this, folks, love to hear from you. You're down there in Atlanta. You're listening on XM 244, America's Talk Channel, or you're, of course, watching at newsmax.com. Please give me a call, 855-777-9660. 855-777-9660. In the first hour we did this, we had a bunch of people saying, hey, this is just a ruse by the police to grab as much authority as possible. This wasn't the mandatory sentencing they were talking about. They were talking about the stop and frisk, that it is a violation of the Constitution, 4th and 14th Amendments, et cetera, et cetera. Love to know what you think. Anybody out there agree with me that stop and frisk is a good thing, and that what Holder's doing is just blatant, in your face. We're the power. We'll do what we want. The Constitution or the laws be damned. 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hey guys, do you know your testosterone level? You should. Each year, declining testosterone robs more of your energy, drive, motivation, and even your ability to perform in bed. Take control of your testosterone today. Write this number down because Progene, the leader in dual-action testosterone supplements, is now giving you a free supply if you call today at 800-592-4834. If you'd like to feel closer to 20 than 40 and get back that energy, drive, and confidence, call now to try Progene risk-free. Don't believe us? We'll even prove it works. Ask about our at-home testosterone test kits and see for yourself what Progene can do for you. Be one of the next 100 callers. We'll triple your order and send you a full 1-month supply of Progene for free. A $70 value for only the cost of shipping and handling. Call 800-592-4834 for details. Know your level and kick your drive back into gear with Progene. Call 800-592-4834. That's 800-592-4834. Again, 800-592-4834.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Are you at least 62 years old like me? Could you use an extra $50,000, $100,000 or more to live a better life? Then please consider the benefits a reverse mortgage can provide to you. With a reverse mortgage, you can have your mortgage payments stopped altogether and get equity out of your home to live on. And you can use the money to help you live a better life. How nice would that be, not to have a mortgage payment? Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is simple, since there are no income, asset, employment, or credit requirements. However, you must be 62 years or older, own your home outright, or have a very low balance on the mortgage, and be prepared to live in it throughout the rest of the loan. Call now for more information.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, and you may be forced to watch helplessly as you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, all while your home's value is eradicated. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer believes we will soon stare down a secret crisis that will rival the Great Depression. It was Wiedemer's 2005 book, America's Bubble Economy, that warned of coming meltdowns in our housing and stock markets. Washington did not heed his call, and folks on Main Street lost $50 trillion from the recession. His New York Times best-selling book, Aftershock, predicted our federal debt and dollar would be the next bubbles to burst. And now Robert Wiedemer has released a startling video with shocking evidence the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Join us at Aftershock2013.com. Aftershock2013.com.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
You know, you put someone in the control, the pilot seat, and you put someone in the, what was that? You put someone in the pilot seat, and he starts screaming in your ear and hitting the wrong buttons. No. If only you folks knew what went on during commercials in this place. Actually, on most shows, on any show, you'd be shocked. Believe me, you'd be shocked. It would be like The Great Shock. They'd write a book about it. Okay. On Friday, we had Barack Obama's press conference, and among other things, not only did he talk about the sealed indictment against the guy who, one of the terrorists who was involved in Benghazi. Remember he said, we got a sealed indictment? You know that it's against the law to say that you have that there's a sealed indictment. It's considered contempt of court, and you could get 6 months in prison. The only person who arguably is allowed to talk about a sealed indictment is the President of the United States. And he did. Sealed indictment. Only ABC News reported on the fact that it's not done. You don't talk about that. You don't mention it, and it's against the law. Again, arguably not for a president. Now, he brought up an issue that nobody asked him about. Gratuitously, the anti-gay laws in Russia and anti-gay laws elsewhere. Here is cut number 26.
I know that one question that's been raised is how do we approach the Olympics? I want to just make very clear right now, I do not think it's appropriate to boycott the Olympics. We've got a bunch of Americans out there who are training hard, who are doing everything they can to succeed. Nobody's more offended than me by some of the anti-gay and lesbian legislation that you've been seeing in Russia. But as I said just this week, I've spoken out against that, not just with respect to Russia, but a number of other countries where we continue to do work with them, but we have a strong disagreement on this issue.
Okay. So he says a question's been asked. He said, but there was no question on this specifically. He gratuitously brought it up. Now, on on Jay Leno's show, he got the events at the Olympics to be held in Russia wrong. He had the wrong seasonal Olympics. He also said that we have to expand the ports in our Gulf Coast, or in the Gulf of the United States. I think he said Gulf Coast. And he mentioned Jacksonville. We went through this whole thing already, right? He mentioned Jacksonville. He mentioned Charlotte. That's the Gulf. And he also said that Putin used to be the head of the KGB. He made 3 huge blunders in one interview with Jay Leno, and the media, shh. But here he gratuitously brought this up, and then this is the clincher. You tell me what this means. No Olympic boycott, although nobody's more offended by these anti-gay laws than him. Yeah, I think gays might be more offended than him. That aside, don't forget he bowed to the king of Saudi Arabia. And who has more restrictions against gays than the countries with Islamic law? But listen to this now. What does this mean? Could somebody tell me what this means? Cut number 27.
One of the things I'm really looking forward to is maybe some gay and lesbian athletes bringing home the gold or silver or bronze, which I think would go a long way in rejecting the kind of attitudes that we're seeing there. And if Russia doesn't have gay or lesbian athletes, then it'll probably make their team weaker.
Right. 2 things. Where are the I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't know. Who are the maybe the president knows something I don't know. Who are the openly gay and lesbian athletes that we have that are going to bring home the gold, silver, and bronze? Do we have openly gay athletes in the Olympics that are going to be participating? Number 2, if Russia doesn't have gay and lesbian athletes, it probably makes them weaker? Really? So taking by extension, gay and lesbian athletes will make an Olympic team stronger. Doesn't matter how good they are. Doesn't matter if they're the best. If they're gay and lesbian, they're better. And if you don't have gay and lesbians on your team, doesn't matter how good your team is, you're weaker. Remember that. Wow. On the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement.
You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system.
Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54 with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is political correctness, or is it? Let's tell you a little bit about what happened here. The Chicago Sun-Times made a point of letting their readers know that they censored the political opinion of one of its drama critics when critic Heidi Weiss suggested that tougher profiling of Muslims might have prevented the Boston Marathon bombing. She wrote, those still thinking of the horrific terrorist attacks at the Boston Marathon attacks might well be tempted to ask, what practical alternative to profiling would you suggest? So that's what she was asking, and the Chicago Sun-Times made a point of telling everybody that they took that out of her review. And joining us right now to talk about this is TV critic at the Miami Herald, Glenn Garvin. Hey, Glenn, how are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good, thank you very much. You wrote an article on the Sun-Times website. You wrote comments at the Miami Herald, I should say, criticizing what the Sun-Times website had done. And tell me why you feel that they shouldn't have taken Heidi's comments away and then talked about it.
Well, I think, the point here, and really the most important point here, is not whether or not she's correct about profiling. That can be argued. Reasonable people can differ on. There are arguments on both sides of that issue. What is just absurd is this idea that a critic can't include political observations in a review. That is monstrously destructive and just needs to be stamped out. Most art, and practically all art that's of any importance, is about ideas. This is true whether we're talking about movies or as she was, plays, or as I write about television. It's about ideas. And ideas, most of them, are political, either in a broad sense or a specific sense. And it's up to a critic to point those ideas out and engage with them. And I just don't see how a good critic cannot be political. Roger Ebert, who of course injected politics into his reviews at the Sun-Times all the time, from a left-wing perspective rather than her perhaps conservative perspective, he used to say that a critic who didn't state his political biases up front was not being honest with his readers. Remember that a review is an expression of opinion. It's not supposed to be balanced. It's not supposed to be objective. It's not supposed to be even-handed. It's what the critic thinks, and that includes his politics. So I thought it was perfectly appropriate for her to note the argument that play was making and to say that she disagreed with it and she didn't think it made its case.
Now, I should point out, you did. It was my mistake. You did post comments on the comments section on the Sun-Times website, stating what you just told us, basically. So she's out reviewing this play called Invasion, and do you think it's because she went there with profiling Muslims that she could have gotten away with it, even coming from the right on something a little less controversial or a little less politically incorrect?
Well, I think that's part of the problem here. I read all the time in reviews stuff like, well, for instance, if Arthur Miller wrote a play called The Crucible, which is nominally about the Salem witch trials, but anybody who looks at it and knows anything about Arthur Miller knows that it's really about McCarthyism in the 1950s, to which he is, of course, strongly opposed. I don't know that I've ever seen a review of The Crucible that does not say The Crucible is a withering attack on the evils of McCarthyism, or something along those lines. Well, you know what? Nobody ever jumps on that and says, "Ooh, this is politics. This can't go in," because it's kind of mainstream liberalism that most people, and certainly almost all people in the mainstream American news media, accept as fact. Similarly, I'd be surprised if you could find very many reviews of the TV miniseries Roots that didn't say, "Wow, this makes us understand the evils of slavery in a new and sharper way." Well, that's a political statement as well. It's a political statement that almost everybody in the United States agrees with, so it goes unnoticed. But yeah, I think she got in trouble because profiling is kind of a hot button issue. The people who are against it are really against it. Many of them have a personal stake in it. They come from an ethnicity or a religion where they're subject to profiling, and I can understand that. But that doesn't mean she's not entitled to have a differing opinion.
We're talking to Glenn Garvin, TV critic at the Miami Herald, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. I mean, I could vouch for the entertainment review critics and whatnot, and that aspect of the media, the news coverage, the so-called news coverage, the commentary, the pundits. I mean, I could dictate media bias and where we're headed. You wouldn't want to hear it. I could do it for hours on end. But in your field, sir, do you believe that political correctness, I mean, this is obviously one example of what you and I both believe it is, but do you believe that this is becoming more and more rampant and will continue to rear its ugly head in your end of the business?
Well, I'm not sure if it's more prevalent. Certainly it's prevalent. Okay, no argument on that. Things may be actually a little bit better these days than they used to be. It's fair to say, I write television reviews. It's fair to say that I'm not part of the general liberal consensus out there. I've never been hassled by my editors about this, not in any way, nor has any other critic at the Miami Herald that I'm aware of. Now, there's always a chance that you could say something so far out that we'd probably, most of us, agree that, well, that ought to not be in the paper. I can tell you that if I owned a newspaper and I had a movie critic saying, "What's all this complaining about the Holocaust? Hitler, had a lot of good points," I wouldn't let that person write for me. That's too far, way too far. Profiling, I think, ought to be well within the parameters of political debate. It's a complicated issue,
It is
a complicated issue.
It is, and I just had a former Attorney General Mike Mukasey on, and we were talking about not only what Eric Holder had to say today, but also the stop and frisk program being found unconstitutional by a judge here in New York City earlier today. And profiling, what profiling originally referred to in the negative sense was the cops on the New Jersey Turnpike, the case where they were stopping black motorists, only black motorists for speeding on purpose, not whites, and harassing black motorists. And this was a handful of them. And that turned into racial profiling. And, racial profiling to me, and this is, outside of the entertainment realm, is the same kind of good police work that they do with all the other profiling they do. That's how cops work. That's how we work to a certain extent. But it's been turned into a dirty term.
Well, yeah,
you don't have to weigh in.
It can be used in a really dirty way, of course. That stuff on the Jersey Turnpike, that was pretty awful.
Well, that wasn't profile. I mean, that's really harassing and illegal and breaking the law. But it was termed by Al Sharpton as racial profiling, and that just stuck.
Well, the thing I always ask people, and again, I am not making a blanket.
No, go ahead.
Profiling here. But what I always say is, well, okay, if a woman reports she's been raped, do the police go out and question all the women in the neighborhood and demand that they offer an alibi? Of course not. That would be stupid.
Well, the New York City Council has a bill before it that says police would be prohibited from using race in a description to put out on the radio. So when you talk about insanity, that's where we're headed in some respects.
That's just silliness.
Of course.
But listen, I don't.
We're straying, and I don't want to put you in an awkward position.
A thing on profiling. But I'm just saying, I think anybody who can consider this from a rational perspective can see that it is something that can be argued and discussed. The play, I haven't seen the play, I should note, but it certainly sounds as if it took a position and was trying to make a political point. And I think it was very, very appropriate for Ms. Weiss to point that out, and for her to say that she wasn't convinced, that she didn't think the play made its case.
Right. Hey, Glenn, pleasure talking to you, sir. Thank you.
Always, anytime.
Thank you. That's Glenn Garvin, TV critic at the Miami Herald, ladies and gentlemen. It's, it's getting scary out there, scarily politically correct, and it's not getting better, even though a majority of Americans don't buy into it. It doesn't matter. The media will try to convince anybody who is with the majority. They'll try to convince them that they're somehow racist, bigoted, biased, sick, demented in the minority, when in fact it's the radical left. Oh, and almost every issue that we're talking about here, it's the radical left that these media represent when they talk about things that they, whether it's abortion on demand or abortion at 9 months or whatever, for the most part. It's usually their view their viewpoint and the viewpoint of the minority. And if you're made to feel that you're, well, if I'm in the minority and these people on TV must be right, no, don't give up. Don't capitulate. Anyway, all right, when we come back, we have a few sound bites you're going to want to hear. Donald Trump, when we come back on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Health insurance is on everybody's mind right now. You either don't have it or you have it and you think it's too expensive. And you probably feel like you don't have any options. We can help. We are InSphere Insurance Solutions. We offer health insurance plans from major carriers nationwide and likely have a plan that can save you money. Whether you're self-employed, on a COBRA plan that's about to expire, or you simply don't have health insurance where you work and you need it, InSphere Insurance Solutions can help you. Our agents will help you find coverage you can afford. InSphere Insurance Solutions is an authorized agency in all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. Plans may not be available in all states. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530. That's 800-460-1530. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-1530. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-574-6029. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-574-6029. That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Malzberg. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Malzberg's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast, and it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
Obamacare. President Obama's massive health care law is taking effect this year. With over 15,000 pages of regulations, few even know what it means. Now, the Obamacare Survival Guide by Nick Tate gives you the shocking facts about this law. It's a step-by-step guide on how you can protect yourself. Already the New York Times bestseller, Every American needs to get the Obamacare Survival Guide and find out about the new taxes, hidden fees, fines, Medicare changes, business rules, and why doctor shortages are likely. Donald Trump says the Obamacare Survival Guide is a must-read for anyone worried about getting good health care for themselves or their employees. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's at bookstores, or get our special offer at Obamacare911.com and you'll save $15. Go now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream is streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
All right, we are back. Steve Malzberg with you. Final segment of the Monday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show. Where did the hours go to? Okay, by the way, for those of you watching on Newsmax TV, we have a different look today. We buttoned the jacket for, I think, 90% of the show. I know Matt is intrigued. We buttoned the jacket, and it does present a bit of a more formal image compared to a little looser image. So I guess it depends what I'm in the mood for. I just felt that today's outfit warranted the buttoning of the jacket. All right. Camera 2. I am looking at camera 2 until you held up 2 fingers, and I'm looking at you. All right. Anyway. Gallup. Gallup poll. I don't know if you noticed this, but while you were away, Barack Obama's job approval rating has tanked down to 44%. I mean, that's bad. That's really low. 44% and 3-day rolling average. I don't have today's. This was yesterday from the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th. I guess I wouldn't have today's because today's is the 12th. So we wouldn't have the 12th until the 13th. Get it? Aha. All right. Just thought I'd fill you in on that. Donald Trump did an interview with Jonathan Karl of ABC News. I think he's with ABC News these days. Anyway, and I want you to listen to this. I want you to listen to who brings up this topic and what Donald Trump had to say. But most importantly, who brings up the topic? Listen to cut number 31.
Is on the birth certificate. So what I'd like to do...
Why does that make me not serious? I mean...
Time out 1 second. Time out 1 second. That's where it started? Okay. What he was supposed to say was, you've said a lot of things over the years that people say make you not serious. One of the big things is on the birth certificates. So unfortunately, our cut started with on the birth certificates. That's not where the cut starts, and the important part was the beginning. The important part is Jonathan Karl brings it up by saying, you've said a lot of things over the years that people say make you not serious. One of the big things is on the birth certificates. Now we could play it.
Is on the birth certificate. So what I'd like to do...
Why does that make me not serious? I mean, I think that resonated with a lot of people.
But you don't still question that he was born in the United States, do you?
I have no idea.
Even at this point?
Well, I don't know. Was it a birth certificate? You tell me. You know, some people say that was not his birth certificate. I'm saying I don't know. Nobody knows. And you don't know either, Jonathan. You're a smart guy. You don't know either.
I'm pretty convinced he was born in the United States.
Pretty. No, you said
totally,
Jonathan,
without question, that he was born in the United States.
Jonathan, you said you're pretty convinced. Okay, so let's just see what happens over time.
Okay, now, it's important that Jonathan Karl brought it up again, saying you've said a lot of things over the years that people say make you not serious. One of the big things is the birth certificates. I saw the news live after this interview had been done, obviously, where Jonathan Karl does a report and he says, and yeah, Donald Trump is still talking about those birth certificates or that president's birth certificate. And I almost jumped out of my chair because it was after I cut this up. And no, Jonathan Karl is talking about the birth certificate in an effort to knock down Donald Trump's seriousness, if you will, as he put it, a notch or 2 or 3 or 4. Trump didn't sit down with Jonathan Karl and say, hey, Obama's birth certificate, it's not. No, Karl brought it up. But yet the piece that I saw, the segment that I saw, had Karl saying, Donald Trump still talking about that Obama's birth certificate. That's just a lie. Well, he was talking about it, but it's misleading. It's a lie that misleads because he didn't bring it up. He's not still obsessed with it. He didn't want to talk about it. Carl talked about it. Carl brought it up. So this is just nonsense. It's just sick. Anyway, here's cut 32.
My issue is economic. Our country is being ripped apart by China and many other countries. That's my issue.
But on this issue, people
well,
think
you just said you're pretty sure, and if you're pretty sure, that's not acceptable because, you know, you can't be pretty sure. You have to be 100%.
I'm sure. I'm 100% sure.
I don't think you are.
Boy, that's a fault.
Okay, and then for good measure, you had someone throw in some words that were totally not. Anyway, so I just want you to be aware of this. That's not how it started, and I had hoped to have the full bite for you, but you know now, Jonathan Karl asked Trump about his seriousness and said, some people think you're not serious because of what you did with Obama's birth certificate. And then he goes around saying later in the day, hey, Trump's still talking about that birth certificate. Yeah, because you made him talk about it. This is perfect liberal journalism, quote unquote. Perfect liberal journalism. Now, I want you to hear something here. This is the head of the RNC, Reince Priebus, and finally, this man is saying what I've been saying Republicans need to say. You got that? It's like I know that you know that I know. He's saying what I have been saying people like him need to be saying. As my earpiece falls out, I just put it back in with one clean fell swoop. Here's cut 29. Cut 29. Reince Priebus, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I think all Republicans are unified on one thing, and that's defunding, delaying, getting rid of, eliminating Obamacare. So we have total unanimity on that issue. The question is, what are the tactics? And you know, even if you take the position of a Ted Cruz or a Mike Lee, basically what they're saying is we are funding 100% of the government, except for that small percentage of discretionary funding to Obamacare. So, Mr. President, if you want to shut the government down because you want to continue to fund this monstrosity that you've already admitted is half broken, then go ahead. I mean, the fact that it's on the Republican Party, I just think is spin from the Democratic Party that you ought not be adopting. I don't know why you're adopting that spin.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, where have you heard that before? Where have you heard that before from me? If the government closes down, why is it the Republicans' fault? If they opt to defund Obamacare and Obama closes down the government because of it and the Democrats close down the government because of it, how does that mean the Republicans close down the government? And finally, the chairman of the RNC is saying it. Finally. And here's cut number 30.
Look, I'm not advocating for one tactic or the other, but what I am advocating for is to set the record straight that the Republican Party is the party that's totally unified in defunding and delaying and getting rid of Obamacare. It's the Democrats that are fighting each other over the overall picture of whether or not we ought to keep Obamacare in place. The president himself has told the American people that Obamacare right now is half broken. I mean, so how do you take taxpayer money and then fund something that the president has admitted is half broken? Is that reasonable?
Well, yeah, I think that they would, as you know, they're describing that as a technical glitch. You're right. I mean, this is about the messaging sort of going forward.
Yeah, it's about the messaging. You know whose messaging it's about? Mainly it's about the Republicans' messaging, because this is the first time I've heard anybody other than me say it will be Obama and his party that shuts down the government, not the Republicans. But the messaging is all about Candy Crowley. Just like she got the message out in the debate with a lie in that debate with Romney and Obama about Benghazi and calling it a terrorist attack in the Rose Garden. He did not. She said he did. Now, what do you think, Candy? Whose side do you think Candy Crowley and CNN and MS and the rest of them are going to come down on if the government shuts down? Republicans shut down the government. On the Steve Malzberg Show, folks.